The police never found the body. Not the child's, not the intruders, but every night at exactly 12:41 a.m., the same emergency line still lights up. And when someone answers it, the voice on the other end already knows their name. This is the reason I quit after 9 years as a police dispatcher. This is the final call I was warned never to talk about. And if you're listening to this late at night, you should know one thing first. Some calls don't come from houses, they come from whatever followed the victim home. I worked as a police dispatcher for almost a decade, and for most of that time, I believed I had seen the worst of humanity. I was wrong. The worst thing I ever encountered didn't come from a criminal or a victim or even a tragic accident. It came through a phone line that should never have connected in the first place. And it happened on my last shift. I started dispatching when I was 22, fresh out of community college and desperate for something stable. The job paid well for a small coastal town in northern Oregon, and I figured I could handle it. I told myself I was level-headed, calm under pressure, good at separating emotion from duty. For years, that was true. I talked people through heart attacks, I'd listened to domestic violence unfold in real time, I'd stayed on the line while officers kicked in doors and paramedics pronounced time of death. You learn to compartmentalize. You learn that every call ends eventually. That belief carried me through 9 years, until the final one. My last shift was supposed to be quiet. It was a Tuesday night in late October, rain tapping against the station's reinforced windows, fog rolling in thick from the bay. I was alone in dispatch after midnight, sipping burnt coffee and counting down the hours until my replacement arrived. I'd already put in my notice. I was burned out, tired, ready to leave the voices behind. At 12:41 a.m., the phones had been silent for almost a half hour. Then my screen lit up. No caller ID, no GPS location, no callback number. That wasn't normal. Still, I adjusted my headset and answered automatically. 911, what's the nature of your emergency? For a moment, there was nothing. Then I heard breathing, slow, careful, like someone trying not to be heard. Hello? I prompted. A child's voice responded, barely above a whisper. Are you the police? Something tightened in my chest. Yes, I said gently. You've reached emergency services. Can you tell me where you are? The child hesitated. I'm at home. I think someone else is here. My spine stiffened. Okay, I said, keeping my tone steady. What's your name? Lucas. He couldn't have been older than 8. All right, Lucas. Do you know your address? I heard muffled movement on the other end, the faint rustle of paper. It's on the fridge, but I don't want to go out there. Stay where you are, I told him immediately. Just tell me what room you're in. My bedroom. I typed rapidly, dispatching officers to the address once he whispered it to me. It was a small house near the edge of town, backed by forest. Response time would be at least 10 minutes. Too long. Lucas, I said, is there anyone else in the house with you? My mom's at work. My dad doesn't live here anymore. I nodded, though he couldn't see it. Did you see anyone, Lucas? No, he said quickly, but I heard them. What did you hear? Footsteps. Not running, not sneaking, just walking, like they belonged there. As we spoke, something felt off. The audio was too clear, no static, no distortion. It sounded like Lucas was sitting in the room with me. Lucas, I asked, are all the doors locked? I think so, he whispered, but they're trying the hallway door. My fingers dug into the desk. Okay, I want you to get somewhere safe, a closet maybe, somewhere you can hide. I'm under my bed. I always hide here when I'm scared." The word always bothered me. Before I could respond, a low sound drifted through the headset. A voice, adult, male. "Lucas," it called calmly. My blood went cold. "Lucas?" I said quickly. "Do you recognize that voice?" He started crying. "It sounds like my dad, but my dad doesn't talk like that." "What do you mean?" "It sounds like him, but wrong, like he's copying." The voice called again, closer this time. "Lucas, come out." I glanced around the empty dispatch room, suddenly very aware of how alone I was. "Lucas," I said firmly, "that is not your dad. Do not answer him." The footsteps grew louder. He whimpered. "He's standing outside my door." I checked the unit tracker. 8 minutes out. Too far. "Lucas," I said to myself, "I need you to stay completely still. Don't make a sound." "I'm scared," he sobbed. "I know, but you're doing great. I'm right here." Something scraped against the door on his end. Nengiel's, slow, deliberate. Then laughter. Not loud, not mocking. Curious, like it was learning how. My stomach turned. "Lucas," I whispered, "what do you see?" "I can see its feet." What did they look like? There was a long pause. "They're backwards." My heart stuttered. "Lucas," I said carefully, "listen to me carefully. No matter what you hear, do not come out." There was silence. Then a soft voice. "Lucas, the lady on the phone can't help you." A wet sound followed, like something smiling too wide. "I can." The screaming stopped abruptly. The line went dead. Officers arrived 90 seconds later. The house was empty. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, no Lucas. Just his bedroom and deep scratches under the bed. Scratches that looked like something had tried to crawl back out. I quit the next morning, didn't wait out my notice, didn't look back. For months, I slept with the lights on. Then the calls started again. At night, my phone ringing, no number. When I answer, there's breathing, waiting, learning. And sometimes, a child's voice asks me if I'm still there. I didn't believe in ghosts. Not because I was brave, but because belief never paid my bills. At 24, life already felt older than it should have. My days were split between exhaustion and responsibility. My mother's lungs were slowly giving up, each breath sounding thinner than the last. My younger brother talked about plans the way other people talked about dreams, vaguely and without urgency. And somehow everything depended on me. So when the city offered me a job as a 911 emergency call operator, I didn't hesitate. Night shift, extra pay, benefits. That was enough. The call center was underground, 2 floors beneath the police department. No windows, no clocks, no sunlight. Just endless cubicles, glowing monitors, and fluorescent lights that buzzed constantly, like tired insects trapped in glass. The air was always cold. Not refreshing cold, preservation cold. The kind that keeps bodies alert and emotions numb. On my first night, a supervisor named Marrow stood in front of the room. He looked hollow, like someone who slept but never rested. "There's only one rule that actually matters here," he said. We all straightened. "Never hang up first." A few people chuckled nervously. Marrow didn't. "Doesn't matter if they're screaming. Doesn't matter if they're silent. Doesn't matter if they beg you to." He paused. Because once a line disconnects, it doesn't always go where you think. No one asked questions. We needed the job too badly. The first few nights were normal. Domestic disputes, drunk drivers, panic attacks, people crying because they didn't know who else to call. It was heavy, but manageable. Then came Thursday night. At exactly 2:17 a.m., my screen flickered. No caller ID, no GPS location, just a blinking incoming line. That alone was strange. I adjusted my headset. 911, what's the location of your emergency? Static answered me. Not the usual crackle. This sounded thicker, layered, almost damp, like breathing through fabric. I repeated the question. That's when I heard footsteps. Slow, uneven, dragging, bare skin against concrete. My fingers curled into the edge of the desk. Ma'am? Sir? A woman whispered something so faint I almost missed it. Can you still hear me? A chill slid down my spine. Yes, I said carefully. I can hear you. What's your address? She didn't answer. The breathing grew heavier. Then, click. Deadline. I logged it as unresponsive caller, protocol, but my hands were shaking. The next night, it happened again. Same time, 2:17 a.m. Different number. Same breathing, same dragging footsteps. This time, she spoke before I could. Please don't hang up. My stomach tightened. How do you know I was going to? I asked. She exhaled slowly. Because they always do. I glanced toward my supervisor's desk. He wasn't watching. What's your emergency? I asked. She paused. Then she said my name. Not my badge number, not my login ID, my real name. My mouth dried. How do you know that? I whispered. She ignored the question. They told me help was coming. Behind her, I heard sirens, police, ambulances, fire trucks, all overlapping, but none of them getting closer. They never came, she said. Then she screamed. Not loud, not dramatic, like someone realizing the moment had already passed. The line stayed open. I flagged the call immediately. My supervisor frowned at the screen. System glitch, he muttered. Then he deleted the log. I stared at him. Why did you erase that? He met my eyes for barely a second. Forget it, he said quietly. Trust me. That was the moment the job stopped feeling normal. I started noticing things. Operators stiffening when the clock neared 2:15, supervisors hovering nearby, desks that were never used. I began digging. Old call logs, archived training files, internal records no one talked about. There was a pattern. Every night shift operator who stayed longer than a year had logged calls from an unidentified source, always between 2:15 and 2:20, always unresolved, always deleted after 30 days. But the worst part, operators who handled more than 3 of those calls never stayed. Some quit overnight, some transferred departments without explanation. 2 died at their desks. Heart failure, the report said. Their headsets were still plugged in. On my 5th night, she called again. I'm stuck between calls, she said. What does that mean? I asked. She laughed softly. It sounded like glass cracking underwater. I took a call once, she said. I froze. My chest tightened. I didn't send help fast enough. Behind her, I heard chaos, crying, shouting, sirens looping endlessly. They said I quit, but I never left. Her breathing grew louder. He's watching me now. Who? I asked. The static surged violently. Then she said,
You will be soon. After that night, I stopped sleeping. When I closed my eyes, I heard breathing, footsteps, static. I started hearing the call center even when I wasn't there. The hum of lights, the distant ringing of phones. At work, the clock crawled toward 2:17 like it knew what it was doing. On my 7th night, I finally found the truth. A restricted training file buried deep in the system. 16 years old, a mass casualty incident, multiple vehicle crashes, multiple fatalities. The operator assigned to the call froze. Help was delayed. People died. She collapsed at her desk mid-shift. Heart attack. Her headset was still on. The call never disconnected. And the system never forgot. At 2:16 a.m., my screen lit up again. Same line, same static. But this time, I didn't speak first. "Please don't hang up," the woman whispered. "I know," I said quietly. She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "They always think they're stronger." "I won't freeze," I replied. She laughed. "They all say that." Behind her, I heard screaming, many voices, overlapping, endless. This is what waiting sounds like. My heart hammered. "What do you want from me?" Another pause. "I want you to understand. Once you hear everything, you don't get to leave." The static grew louder, and then the call transferred. My screen showed a new line. Active incident, no location found. I heard my own voice, crying, begging, "Please don't hang up." My hands trembled. I realized then what she had become, what the system made her into. A test, a warning, a replacement. At 2:18 a.m., the supervisor rushed toward me. "Disconnect," he whispered. "Now!" I looked at him. "You said never hang up first." His face broke. "That rule is for them, not for you." I understood too late. I stayed on the line. The next morning, my desk was empty, my badge deactivated, my name removed from the roster. They said I quit. They said stress got to me. But every night at 2:17 a.m., a new operator hears breathing, footsteps, a voice whispering, "Please don't hang up." And somewhere in the static, I'm still there.
I've been a 911 dispatcher for 12 years, and for the last 7, I've worked the graveyard shift. After a while, you stop thinking of the calls as people. They become numbers, codes, a rhythm of panic you learn to move through without letting it touch you. My county is the kind of place that falls asleep at night. The streets empty, the stores close, and the only sounds are the distant hum of highway traffic and the occasional dog barking at nothing. Most nights, the worst we get is a drunk teenager or a loud argument, nothing that would keep you awake if you didn't have to respond to it. Then, my boss gave me a rule that didn't make sense. "If a call comes from the old house on the county line," he said, "you let it ring." I asked him why. He didn't answer. He just stared at me like he was looking at someone who might not survive the shift. "Do not answer it," he repeated. "Not ever. If it rings, let it ring." That was the first time I heard the name of the house. It was a Tuesday, around 2:47 a.m., the time of night when the building feels like it's holding its breath. My console flashed with an unregistered VoIP call. No address, no name, no signal, just the word unknown. I answered. 911, what is your emergency? Static. The kind of static that feels like it's crawling through the headset, thick, wet, like listening to the radio underwater. Then
A voice. A child's voice. Thin and trembling. "Hello? Can you hear me?" I leaned forward. "Yes, I can hear you. What's your emergency?" The static rose, almost swallowing him. "He's back," the boy whispered. "The man in the mask is back." My skin went cold. "Where are you?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay calm. "The old house, at the end of the road. Please." Then a sob, broken and silent. "Daddy's on the floor. He won't wake up." And then the line died. No click, no hang-up, just silence. I tried to trace the call. The system returned errors. No location, no subscriber info, nothing. I dispatched a patrol anyway. The officer radioed back 15 minutes later. "Dispatch, car 12. Property is secure. No signs of entry. No one here." "Are you sure?" I asked. He sounded annoyed. "Yes, the place is boarded up. Dust on the porch. If someone's in there, they're a ghost." I logged the call as unfounded and tried to push it out of my mind. A week later, same time, same kind of call. "He's in the house. Mask. Mommy's screaming." The calls kept coming every Tuesday at 2:47 a.m. Always the same unregistered VoIP. Always static. Always the same boy's voice, getting more desperate each time. Each time I dispatched a patrol. Each time the house was empty. No footprints, no evidence, no sign of a struggle. Just dust, silence, and that oppressive feeling that the house was waiting. My supervisor called me into his office after the third call. "Stop sending patrols out there," he said. "It's a waste of resources." "It's a child," I said. He looked at me like I was naive. "It's a story, kid. A glitch, a prank. Stop feeding it." But I couldn't stop thinking about the voice, the fear, the pleading. I started researching the house. At first, it was just curiosity. Then it became obsession. Property records were messy. The house had been sold and resold to banks and holding companies. It was like everyone wanted to own it, but no one wanted to live in it. Then I found an old newspaper article from 1975. The headline was blunt: "Family murdered in county line home." The article said a husband, wife, and their 10-year-old daughter were found dead in the house. Their 8-year-old son was missing. Police found evidence he had been hiding in a closet upstairs, but he was never found. A neighbor claimed to have seen a man running into the woods wearing a pale mask. The killer was never identified. The boy was never found. And the house was left to rot. I sat in the library basement, staring at the article, my hands shaking. I felt like I had found a missing piece of my own life, like the calls were pointing me to something I was supposed to see. My supervisor pulled me aside again a few days later. He looked older than his age, like something had been slowly draining him. "You know who sat here before you?" he asked. I shook my head. "The dispatcher before you," he said. "He got obsessed with the house." He told me the story of a man who had started taking the same calls, a man who insisted there was a child in danger, a man who sent patrols out every Tuesday without fail. Then the calls stopped. He started showing up to work late. He stopped sleeping. He spent his days in the archives. And then, one night, he took a call and vanished. His car was found on the county line road the next morning. Engine cold, doors locked. No body, no trace. Just the car. My supervisor looked me in the eye. "Don't answer it," he said. "If it rings, let it ring." It was 2 nights ago. The clock read 2:45 a.m. My heart was beating too fast, like it knew what was coming. 2:47. The console flashed. The call came in. My hands froze. My brain screamed, "Don't answer." But I couldn't ignore it. The voice was a child, a child in trouble. I answered, 911, what is your emergency? The static roared like a storm. Then the voice, he's got me, please, he's taking me. The scream that followed was raw, desperate, and too real. I was about to dispatch patrol when a message flashed on my screen. Do not send help. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. The boy's voice became frantic. Please, you promised. You said you'd send help. The static shifted, and a new voice appeared. Older, hoarse. He's here, the man whispered. He sees you. I felt my skin crawl. He's looking at you through the line. Then the line went dead. I sat there, staring at the empty console, my chest tight. The building was quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard it. A faint knocking. Not on my door. On the walls. Like someone tapping from inside the building. I stood up. My feet felt heavy, like the floor was trying to pull me down. I walked down the hallway and looked into the glass of the window. In the reflection behind me was a figure. A man with a pale smile, empty eyes. He was standing directly behind me, but when I turned, no one was there. He was only visible in the reflection, only in the glass, only in the static. The mask, the smile, the man. Back at my console, I realized something. The calls weren't coming from the house, they were coming from the line. The old house was just a doorway. The calls were a bridge. The boy's voice was trapped inside it, and whatever was on the other side was trying to cross over. I looked at the screen again. A message appeared. Thank you for answering. Below it, now you're one of us. My stomach dropped. I understood then what happened to the previous dispatcher. He didn't die. He answered, and he became part of the line, part of the static, part of the mask. The console rang again. Same time, same unregistered VoIP. 2:47. My hands trembled. My brain screamed, don't answer. But I answered anyway. 911? A calm voice came through. Not the boy, not the man. A woman. Soft, tired. Hello, she said. Then she whispered, please, you have to listen. I listened. She said she was the mother. She said the boy was not missing. She said the father was not dead. And then she said the sentence that made my blood freeze. He is the one who answers the calls. The line went dead. But the intercom in the dispatch center clicked on. My supervisor's voice came through, but it wasn't his. It was distorted with static. 911, what is your emergency? The voice said. My hands went numb. The voice continued. I'm here. I'm listening. The calls didn't stop. They kept coming. Because now, the county was answering for me. I sat down. The clock read 3 a.m. The server hum grew louder. The phone line stayed open, and in the static I heard a faint whisper. A boy. Please, don't let him take me again. And somewhere on the county line, the old house waited, silent, patient, hungry.